Happy Friday. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, once again joined by Pat Gray from Pat Gray Unleashed, Chad Prather from...
I've never been so happy to be anywhere in my life on a Friday. But sitting right here with you guys.
I was feeling that. You mean it too. Really.
I know.
It feels like it was yesterday, right?
Really,
almost.
Isn't that crazy? Josh Hammer, editor at large from the Daily Wire. Thanks for being with us again.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Smartest dude I know.
I know, you were like, he says big words.
Like three syllables.
Is that's your max?
Even 4.
Is that your cutoff?
Yeah, I could say onomatopoeia.
There you go.
Well, you guys are in for a show, apparently. So we are going to get into all of the news stories that we didn't get to earlier on in the week. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsor, Relief Factor. So apparently, there was a study that came out that says that most Americans are just living in pain all the time, and they don't think that there's anything that they can do to get out of pain, which I heard that, and I was like, that's the most depressing thing ever. You just wake up, you're in pain, and you're like, it's just life now, and you go to bed, and you're in pain over and over and over again. Can you relate to this at all?
A little bit.
A little bit?
Mm-hmm.
So I could. And I was in a car accident. I had a messed up back. And that's how I lived. And it really does affect your life in every way, shape, and form. You get grumpy all the time. You don't want to do anything. It just really affects your life. Might I suggest that you try Relief Factor if you are one of those people? Relief Factor is 100% drug-free, which I love. I know you men are like, drug-free, okay, that doesn't work. But it works for 70% of the people who buy their 3-week quick start pack that they have right now for $19.95. It works for 70% of them. They go on to keep ordering more. It works for me. It can work for you. If you are in pain, it's worth the $19.95 to try it. See if you can get out of pain. Go to relieffactor.com or you can call 800-500-8384. All right, so in really, really big news, air pollution is racist.
Yes. The air that Americans breathe is not equal. And, we've got white privilege to deal with. We've got the white income inequality, and now there's white air pollution. Apparently, blacks and Hispanics disproportionately breathe air that's been polluted by whites, according to a new study. The first time the racial gap between who causes air pollution and who breathes it has been discovered. But,
finally.
They finally caught us going in to minority neighborhoods and filling the air with all kinds of toxins and then going back to the suburbs where we don't have to breathe it. I didn't think they'd ever catch us, but they did. And so I guess now the jig is up. So I don't really know.
News like this is what makes my head hurt. I need Relief Factor now.
I'm not sure if Relief Factor can help you with that.
But now do China. Now do India. If you breathe in China, it's the equivalent of smoking 21 cigarettes. That's how bad the air is in certain places. Yeah.
Wow.
It's bad. So this is
why you always see them
crazy.
wearing gas masks.
And the things.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad.
Josh,
what this reminds me of, I remember in the 2016 primary, Ted Cruz had this flat tax plan. And apparently some economic study purported to show that Ted Cruz's flat tax would disproportionately benefit more men than women. So it was some leftist side, I think it was Vox, it might have been HuffPost or Mother Jones, whatever. I think it was Vox, had a take that basically said Ted Cruz's flat tax plan is misogynistic, okay? And it's the same thing here, okay? It's based on who it impacts. In legalese, the Supreme Court calls this disparate impact theory. It's all the rage on the left. Back in the Obama administration, Eric Holder's Attorney General was trying to do FHA, Federal Housing Agency, housing policy based on disparate impact, not on the intent of the policy, but on how it impacts various people, and then deeming it racist based on that. It's insane, okay? It's facially absurd. This is not how any logical, rational thinking human being should conduct his policy analysis, but they did this to Ted Cruz's flat tax plan, and apparently now I guess the air I'm breathing is racist too. So I don't know.
Well, you're white.
I'm white. Yeah, it's my white privilege.
For you,
yeah.
it is.
But
your
are
privilege.
you? But are you? Because you know what, you can identify as anything you want today.
Oh, good call.
Let me show you the left's logic. Here's the logic right here. Go through the cards. Go through the arts. What's racist today? White marble statues. No, we've already done that one. What's racist today? The oak trim in the dormitories in the campus. No, Air. Have we done air yet? No, let's do air today. Air. You're on it. Go. Find out. Do the research. Why is air racist? Get back to me tomorrow. We're publishing it.
What's sad is we're pretty much at that point.
It is that ridiculous.
Right. Like, that's not necessarily an exaggeration.
Yeah.
That is where we are right now. I want to know how much money. Do you know if it says how much money they spent on this study?
It didn't say.
To prove that air is racist?
But I'm hoping it's millions because it's an important study.
Groundbreaking. I mean, again.
I didn't know it last week. Now I know. I'm informed.
You know it.
Right.
And what are we supposed to do to combat it? I wonder.
White people should stop breathing and stop polluting. I guess we stop driving cars and stop participating in industry. I don't know. It's they didn't really have solutions in this. They just place blame. You know, it's amazing. There's always got to be a victim, and there's somebody causing the problem, and it's always white people causing the problem.
Is the blame on the farting cows this time, or is that just
No,
that's old news. Okay, got it. Yeah. I'm dated. I'm sorry.
Old news. Well, if they'd stop putting Planned Parenthoods within walking distance of urban centers and killing black babies, it wouldn't be so disproportionate. But I just went there. I ain't scared of it. It's true. It's true. Stop killing yourselves. Stop killing yourselves. But that's what it boils down to. Everybody, they want to talk about, we're victimized, we're victimized. No, you're victimizing yourself. Yeah. You're victimizing yourself. You're killing your communities. You're killing the family unit. I mean, if we really wanted to go into that place, and I'll get off the soapbox here.
Oh, let's go to that place, Chad. You go to that place.
Look, back in the 60s, back in the 50s and the 60s, 70% of black homes had mothers and fathers in them. Today, 70%
don't.
24% now have mothers and fathers in them. Stop killing yourself. Don't blame it on the air. Don't blame it on white people. Don't blame it on any of that stuff. And look, I can trot out as many people as you need to of all different walks of life, all different places of socioeconomic status, all skin colors and everything, and they're going to tell you the same thing. You can't just continue this victimhood mentality. If you're going to blame air, give me a break on this thing. Air. White people's fault that you're breathing the wrong air. That is the height of when we start getting into privilege and looking for something first world to complain about.
I think we were just taken to church.
Come on with it.
For a second. Come on. Okay. Next up, the story that, Chad, you talked about, I believe it was Wednesday, yes, on this program of the college admissions scandal. So
see, people don't think, I think people look at this as a novelty, this college admissions scam and scandal and the bribery that was going on, where all of these rich people, it wasn't white privilege, as so many people want to say, this was rich privilege. This is where uber rich people basically hired somebody to the tune of $25 million collectively. William Singer, who is an admissions specialist, counselor, whatever that is, and he starts taking money and he's bribing coaches and standardized test monitors and people who are over the admissions process for these major universities. He's putting money in their hands so that these kids who are underqualified and incapable can get an admission to the school of their choice. So they're doctoring pictures and things like that, making it look like the kid was on the soccer team or excelling at lacrosse when they never picked up a lacrosse stick ever in their life. So this thing gets exposed because, and it makes major news, because of two Hollywood celebrities, Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman. They're doing it for their kids, which, I said this on Wednesday. Can you imagine being that kid and going, did you really pay for me to get in school? And they're like, well, baby, you're stupid. So yes, we didn't have a choice. I feel like my parents didn't really love me. Like I had to go to the University of Georgia based on merit, and my parents didn't do anything to help me. They didn't even move me into the dormitory. They didn't even go to the campus with me when I moved. I packed up the Grand Am and rolled. I don't understand this thing. But here is the blowback. Here's what's going on. Now there are two girls, and this is just the first. They're just starting to pull the string on this thing. Two girls who are Stanford graduates have decided to file a class action lawsuit against all of these universities because they say we did not get to go to the university of our choice, and now our Stanford diploma is not worth what it could be or should be, because now a prospective employer may look at us and say, did you go to Stanford on your merit, or did your parents buy your way in? And so they're saying we want not only punitive damages, but we want all of our tuition and fees back. So I got a new plan for Bernie Sanders. You want to give everybody a free college education? Just let everybody sue the school they went to and get a refund. That's what we're up against. It's just the beginning. Watch, this is going to be a major, major deal.
Josh, you're an attorney.
Yeah.
Right? Weigh in on this.
Yeah. So I have like two basic takes to this story. The first is, What I hope from a policy perspective is that this opens up people's eyes to the huge scam that is the federal government subsidizing the student loan industry. That is one thing that we really need to get under control here. All we're doing is subsidizing universities to raise tuition year in and year out. Those tax dollars that are being used to subsidize that are disproportionately hurting lower income people. And then it's really a direct regressive wealth transfer. It's a wealth transfer from lower income people to higher income people that are attending these elite universities, because try as they might, all the top universities are still going to be disproportionately drawing from the top echelon of the socioeconomic scale, right? Affirmative action can only go so far. I mean, the elite schools are still going to be comprised of largely rich people. That's just the kind of the unfortunate reality of what it is. So from a policy perspective, that's what we need to start doing, is cracking down on the federal subsidization of student loans. Harvard has a $38 billion endowment. They're doing damn fine, okay? Yeah. They don't need our freaking tax dollars, okay? And then you kind of couple that along with the fact that they're just indoctrinating the youth into all this kind of leftist Marxist stuff. I mean, conservatives better get their act together on this issue. That's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is not a novel take, I've seen this take a few times this week, but I think it's the correct take nonetheless, is in a functioning university setting, people who do not belong in university on merit but are literally being bought in, they will be weeded out. Okay, they will be on the bottom of the bell curve. They will be flunking out. The fact that this is not happening shows all the other problems that are going on in universities these days. Right, you've got serious grade inflation. There's no integrity to grading or curves anymore. And ultimately, what happens is the diplomas that everyone has, and I've got mine hanging on my wall too. It's just it's vanity. The degree is there for social symbol. Okay, they're not teaching anything. I went to Duke for college, University of Chicago for law school. Okay, law school's a little different. Let's focus on the college. Even at these like elite colleges, you're there to meet people, to have social experiences, to like go drink and go to sporting events. Even there are very, 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 very few even top colleges these days that are actually focusing on teaching the great Western books, on the Greeks, on philosophy.
Well, they don't even teach history anymore.
No. I mean, like it's like 1/3 of Americans can name like one of the 3 branches of government or something astoundingly like that. I mean, our crisis of civics is deeply depressing, but it all comes back to the notion that we've just made university kind of this symbolic gateway as opposed to an actual inherent educational value.
Yeah, Pat, you want to weigh in on this?
My biggest take from this was USC has a rowing team? What the hell? What is that about? If 1 penny of my tax dollars has gone to the USC rowing team, I'm pissed. What is going on there? I mean, I thought that was a Harvard thing and a Yale thing. I didn't think that was on the West Coast, too, but it is, surprisingly. And she's not on the team. But the rowing coach has pull at the admissions office, too. I mean, some weird things are going on in America, and I'm glad they've come to light.
Thank you for that really, really intense take on
insightful,
this,
isn't it?
On this particular story.
That's the kind of thing that makes you think, though. It really is.
It is. No, but I do want to talk about where's college even going, right? Because I have a son who is almost 7, and I was just having this conversation with my husband last night. It's just, I mean, do we want him to even go to college?
See, that's the thing. I had a caller this morning that said, you know who the winners are in the story are the kids that aren't getting into the college as a result of the rich people taking their spot. So they're not being indoctrinated. Yeah. I mean, that is something to consider because they are propaganda centers now. Yeah. And, you don't have to go to these propaganda centers to be somebody in this country anymore. You don't have to do it.
You really don't.
Yeah, my 2 oldest daughters are in 2 different universities, and we heavily monitor what they're discussing, what they're talking about, what they're studying, what they're looking into, because it's a dangerous thing. It's an indoctrination center of the left. And I think to the degree that you can go to an institution of higher learning specifically for a reason, don't go if you're planning on graduating undecided, which is what so many do. And it's up to the parent. It is really up to the parent. We got to get a grip on this thing and actually start raising and training our kids all the way through. And it's our jobs and our role as parents to help our kids develop a sense of destiny, to know where they're going in life. That's emotionally, spiritually, mentally, professionally. I should know by the time my kids are teenagers what their giftings are, what their skill sets are, where their brains work, and I should help guide them through that. So I don't say throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think they're at this stage in the game, there is still some merit to higher education. I agree with what Josh said. It is a vanity thing. Mm-hmm. This is obviously what this was, because these kids couldn't get in there and they weren't going to pass. Mm-hmm. They wanted the college experience and be able to say this is where we went. So I agree with friends like Mike Rowe who look at the thing and say, look, there are trade skill jobs out there. You can go out there and do great and not graduate with all this debt. You can go out there and make a 6-figure income and do very well as a trade skilled person. And there's a need for that in America. So,
and I think it's just going to continue to turn itself on its head, to where more people are going to be going to these trade schools and just working on skills that they can do outside of college, and less people are going to be, worried about going to college and then having to pay off all of these loans.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in 2016, I think Marco Rubio got in a little trouble. He had some quote where he said we need fewer philosophers and more like carpenters. Or that's totally true, by the way. I mean, like he got criticized for that. It's totally true. Yeah. But I want to make a slightly different point, actually. The indoctrination on the university campus is famously terrible. It's been famously terrible at least since Bill Buckley wrote God and Man at Yale in the early 1950s, probably even going back further than that. But we know that's terrible. What is even more insidious, though, is that they're starting the indoctrination earlier. They really are, much earlier. I have a good friend in Houston. He has a son, he's a junior in high school. Pretty upscale public school. He was telling me a crazy, crazy story. He's in a U.S. history course. The professor, who was an unabashed, kind of like Beto O'Rourke classic, like a white, New York Times reading progressive, he's teaching them World War II history. He discussed the Holocaust for 5 minutes, glossed it over like it was nothing. Literally like straight out of like a Palestinian Authority textbook. And when someone in the class raised his hand to ask why this was the case, the teacher apparently said, I'm told by my friend, that it is just a drop in the war and that America's crimes in the war were much worse.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
My gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. So
junior in high school, you said.
Jeez.
Yeah. Like a well-to-do, decently prominent, I think, public school in Houston, Texas.
That is terrifying.
Terrifying.
Oh my gosh. Back in a minute. It's those things that you hear and you're like, Texas?
Yeah. Exactly. That was my first reaction. Was like, California, I can maybe.
Thing.
Before we continue the conversation, I want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. Pat, I heard you on the radio not too long ago, and you said you were talking about iTarget, and you said, yeah, Sarah calls them like laser bullets or whatever. But I would just like to point out, for the record, that on the actual package, it says laser bullet. Look
no.
Yes,
yeah,
look
at that.
It says laser bullet.
I think that's Photoshop.
So we were talking about it on this program, and I said, Pat made fun of me. And Stu goes, well, it actually does say laser bullet right there. And I was like, I have to give him a hard time about that. So when I say it's a laser bullet, I really do mean
is a laser bullet.
A laser bullet,
Okay.
which just saying it sounds super cool. So if you want to fire laser bullets like we do, in all seriousness, iTarget Pro is the best way to practice using your firearm at home. As most of us know, dry firing is the ultimate way to get to know your gun, to get to know how it feels when you pull the trigger, to get to know how long the pull is. I have a 380 at home, and the pull is way longer than you expect it to be. But I don't get to go to the range all the time. Plus, it's expensive. You have to pay for the ammunition and the range fees. iTarget Pro is the way to train at home. So you put the laser bullet in your gun, and as you saw in that video, you can fire at the target. There's an app that comes, you can download on your phone that keeps track of it. And so it's not like a laser pointer. The laser only shows up when you fire. So it's not giving you help. It's actually helping you train, and it pays for itself in range and ammo fees. So right now you can go to itargetpro.com, get 10% off plus free shipping with promo code NEWS. Get you a laser bullet at itargetpro.com. Before we move on to the next story, I just would like to point out on this whole college admissions cheating thing, did you hear that Elizabeth Warren, of all people, said that she has zero sympathy for the college admissions?
She should have at least one 10/24 city.
I mean, it's just that the self-awareness of these people is just unbelievable. Yeah. All right, so Pat, there was he's a man, right?
Yep.
And can you just explain this? Because with the transgender,
the fluid thing, the non-binary
the pronouns,
thing.
I get confused.
Yeah, you don't want to offend him, and you won't by calling him a man now, because this guy is actually. He was an LGBTQIA2 plus hero for a while, because he was the first legal non-binary person in the United States. A judge declared him as such.
And non-binary is you just don't
have a gender.
Okay.
You're not a man. You're not a woman.
You're just a
You're
thing?
some third thing.
An amoeba?
I guess.
It explains a lot about my cousin.
So he went about for the last 3 years as a non-binary person, and he just came out and declared the fact that he has gone back to his former life as a man. He's a full-fledged man now, doesn't want anything to do with the non-binary thing. He is...
So does he have a penis?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
Yes, he does.
Okay,
And
I
I guess
don't
he's
know.
always...
Sad not being
asking the
around
tough
bush.
questions.
I mean, that's basically how that's my hard-hitting journalistic
And he's
truth
always
right
had
there.
one. He's always had one. But
okay.
for some reason, he
Amazing.
wasn't a man
But he's gone back to pee and
a
stand
couple
up. I got
years
it.
ago when he had one.
Okay.
But he has now said, look, I had PTSD, and it messed me up, and I was going through a severe mental crisis. And all the doctors did that I went through was continue to make it worse for me. And so they played on his disease, on his gender dysphoria, and they encouraged him every step of the way to become this non-binary person. And so he did, because that's what he was pushed into. And he said that's the danger of this situation right now, where everybody's afraid to just say, hey, you need some help.
Yeah.
You know, you're messed up right now. You are a man. Well, why don't you, let's get you some help. Let's get you some psychiatric care. And apparently the physician he went to just pushed him into this non-binary choice. And so he, to respond to all of the pressure that he was getting, had himself declared non-binary. But then he recovered, and now he's back to being a man. And it kind of shows you the hysteria that we're going through in this country right now with this gender fluid thing, and the fact that we've got a non-binary gender situation. There's no such thing. You're a man or you're a woman. And we just heard the news the other day. Who was it? Deborah Messing. In order to celebrate National or International Women's Day, put out a picture of these cupcakes that were in the form of a vagina. And people got really hacked off at her.
One of those.
I'll get you the website right after this. But people were mad at her, and it wasn't because it was crass and crude and their kids could look at it. It was because she didn't celebrate women without a vagina. Like, there are no women without a vagina. If you're a woman, you've got one.
This is the best news of why it matters we've ever had.
What is wrong with that?
That's kind of like the main qualification, I feel,
yeah.
for being a woman.
Yes.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
I mean, when I'm looking for one, let me just tell you. Okay, just basically, do you think this guy, after coming back out and saying, okay, forget it, I'm a man, do you think he's getting hate mail? Do you think he's getting trashed, right?
Oh, yeah.
Which that in and of itself shows the hypocrisy. They don't want you to be who you want to be. They want you to be who they need you to be in order to fill the narrative. So it's complete hypocrisy. If this guy comes out and says, no, okay, look, I was messed up in the head, I'm wrong, this is what I am, and they're going to go, oh, no, we need you to go back to being whatever it was you were, it's got to fit the narrative.
Well, I mean, it's really dangerous when you have a medical community. I mean, these are people who are supposed to know. These are the people that we're supposed to be able to trust, that they're going to look to science, and they're going to look to studies that show that, gender dysphoria is actually very rare, and look at all of the statistics associated with, higher levels of depression, of suicide, of anxiety, of all of these things. Why in the world would our trusted medical professionals be pushing people into that? I mean, if you can't trust the doctors, who can you trust?
Yeah.
Because they've been breathing bad air.
No, that's just the blacks and
It's just
Hispanics.
black people, gotcha.
Yeah. All right, back in a minute.
There's a joke there that I can't go to.
Apparently you're like...
Chad was just saying this is the best news and why it matters ever. It continues in overtime. For those of you who have not yet signed up, go to blazetv.com. You can use promo code NEWS and get $10 off of your annual subscription. You will not only have access to the news and why it matters, you will also have access to Pat Gray Unleashed.
Yay!
Happens every morning, way early.
Like 7 o'clock Eastern.
That's really early.
6 o'clock Central.
That's
5
really
Mountain.
early.
It's like 1 in the morning Hawaiian. I don't know.
And Chad Prather.
Yeah, humor me with
Chad Prather.
You get that.
Overtime starts next. Join us.